Mm. Mm. Hey, animal killer. Worn out already? Here, have a Red Bull. Red Bull went faster.
You don't have any jobs against me. I can calculate 90 trillion minutes.
Uh-oh, this does not have a red bullet. Sit on. Oh.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I think I know everybody here. My name's Ed King, founder and CEO of Openprise. Now, last year, for you guys who are here, we borrowed the thing from Nike and Just Do It. We repurposed it, called Just Align It. We had so much fun that we're doing it again this year. This may be a tradition going forward. So this year, of course, is Red Bull, and the thing is, data gives you wings. Now, for folks that were here last year at Open 23, I think you can all agree that it was pretty good, resounding success. It kind of, we created by merging Open with MAPSA, we create a destination event that with the networking opportunity and content, there's no way we could have done it on our own. And so that was good. And we really kind of learned kind of discovered the value of the community. So last year, actually this year, we decided to double down on it. And we're doing it again this year. And of course, the bonus is what happened last year is that we actually helped launch MOPSA for folks that didn't know that we were the anchor sponsor that actually got the whole effort started. So that was a good thing. And we're doing it again this year, of course. And this year, we even brought back our own superheroes. Mission JD from Vimeo. Of course, for the rest of this week, they're going to kind of figure out who's Robin. All right. So now the success of Open 23, right? Again, to kind of help us discover the value of the community. So we doubled down on the investment this year. We sponsored the Road to MAPSA event in 4 different cities. And we also actually helped the RevOps Co-op launch their event as well, the RevOps AF. And we expect to continue to invest in this. And again, this year, you'll see that we're title sponsor again. In fact, for Open 25, we already reached agreement with Mike Rizzo to do that again next year. So this is all going to be good. This year, if you haven't heard, the conference is about 50% bigger than last year. So it's really started getting a lot of good momentum. All right. Now, it's good to bring customers and friends here to MAPSA so we can all network, but we want to promote kind of people getting to leverage the resource of community on an ongoing basis year round. So what we're announcing is what we call the RevOps Community Scholarship Program. So essentially, we will be paying for customers and ex-customers essentially a full year membership, full access membership to either MoPro or RevOps Co-op. You get to pick one. We're still trying to figure out the different ways you can qualify. A couple ways already that we're going to do. For example, if you win the driver's award, which you'll find out tomorrow during dinner, you get a free scholarship, as well as the winner to the our hackathon, which we just finished last week, and we intend to do a couple of these hackathons a year. And also, if for anybody who got unexpectedly find themselves in a job market, we will also provide a scholarship to help people kind of find a landing spot. So if you are interested, or if you know somebody who's deserving, just talk to your accounting. Okay. All right. So we got a lot of good feedback last year from Open23. We try to implement a lot of that to make your experience even better this year. So first thing is that quite a few Mazda attendees last year thought the Openprise session was for Openprise customers only, so they didn't come in. So starting tomorrow, you'll see actually less Openprise branding around. So it's going to be more blended in, so people know it's just another track. Also, universally, you said you thought that content was too high level. You want a more technical, more tactical content. We try to implement that this year. Hopefully, you'll agree with that. We also pretty much oversubscribe for the sessions that we're responsible for staffing. A lot of you have good stuff you want to get on stage and talk. So we basically cut back on the number of Openprise presenters, which I give the most of you on the stage. We're also this year introducing what we call the solution showcase, which we'll talk a little bit more about next about what that is. All right, before we do that, I'll quickly just go through the agenda for this week. We're in the welcome session of the keynote. Next, we'll talk about our point of view, about where we think the go-to-market data is going and how that's going to impact the ops profession. We made a couple announcements in Open23 last year. We do want to give you an update to see where we are against those announcements. Then they'll take us into the solution showcase. I will take a quick break. Then we'll go into the solution showcase. Then I'll come back right before lunch to talk about our strategic roadmap for the next 18 and 24 months. After lunch, our product management team will basically get into the customer advisory board. Then after that, we'll go to we'll get MOPSA kick-started with a welcome reception. Tomorrow morning, MOPSA starts bright and early, especially if you're going to Jessica Cal's yoga class, it'll be really early. Tomorrow night, after the day's wrapped up, hopefully everybody can join us for the customer appreciation dinner. This is when we will also announce our drivers award winners as well. All right, solution showcase. This is something new we're introducing this year. Now, one of the questions I get asked by customers from time to time is that what percentage of the Openprise platform are they using? And some of the executives, sometimes they're surprised when I tell them they're using less than 30%. And if you look at even our most sophisticated customer who's been with us 6 years plus, I would say probably nobody used more than 60% of the platform. Okay. And now part of it is because we do release features at a pretty healthy pace. And as you guys know, every feature in Openprise, there's like 20 different ways to use it. Okay. So it can be hard for a customer to actually keep on top of what's new and what are all the different ways that can be leveraged. So what's going to happen is that after this, we'll have our customer success team come up and actually lead 3 show and tell sessions on 3 different topics. The focus is on all the new capabilities we have released essentially the last 2 to 3 quarters. There'll be 3 different tracks. We'll have one track on data supply chain management. The second one will be a whole set of new use cases now we're calling data fracking. And the third one is going to be on AI. All right. Okay. Now, before we go there, I want to kind of talk about where our point of view on where go-to-market data is going, how AI is going to impact all this, and how it's going to affect our jobs going forward. This is important because with this understanding, it'll make sense when I talk about strategic roadmap. Why are we investing in the area we're investing in? All right. Now, if you look at where we have come from, right? So there's really been kind of 2 separate eras since this whole thing got started. So back around 2008, I would say this is where kind of the world we know has started. I call it the era of digitalization. And about 8 years later than that, after that, about 2016, we're into a second era. I call it the era of third-party data. So of course, it's been a year since. So now we're standing in 2024. And I think we're about to start into a third era of go-to-market. Now, what exactly is that? I'll talk about what I think it looks like. All right, so back in 2008, right? This is when new technology started to show up. Now we have the SaaS tools that we are as the ops team, the marketing team, and we're starting to be able to more easily capture prospect data, customer data. We're starting to be able to track all the engagements, and we have now administer all these marketing campaigns. And essentially now we have technology that we can use to scale our operations, manage our data, kind of without IT's help, right? This is kind of the big kind of launch point. Then this, of course, was kickstarted by the launch of the marketing automation platforms like Marketo, Pardot, Aliquot. And this is also about 6 years since Salesforce.com really kind of started getting widespread adoption. So the sales team also started to digitize their data on their side of the house. Okay. By the way, if you think the logos look wrong, you just don't have enough gray hair. All right. Now, fast forward 8 years. So now we're in 2016. Now, by this time, marketing automation platform has pretty much hit mainstream, right? A lot of us have that stuff already, keep on pretty experienced, and Salesforce has basically taken over the world by this time. And so what we have is that we now have all these go-to-market data that we're starting to accumulate. We know what we have on our hands. We start to understand what are some of the challenges associated with this data, especially around data quality. Then we also start to realize there's gaps in this data that's going to be very difficult for us trying to fill it on our own. Okay. Now, this is also, if you look at a timeline, now this is about 15 years since the internet has started. It really hasn't been that long. Back in 2000, I was working at IBM. We were just moving our email system from mainframe to Lotus Notes. Talking about gray hair. So it really hasn't been that long. So by this time, we also just been online long enough, and we have the companies can now collect our digital footprint, package it up, and now essentially sell it to us as a way to enhance our first-party database. And so we started with company data, contact data, then got into technographics, intent, and all that signals. That's all good. So it's really valuable data, like we said. This is stuff that will be really hard for us to do individually, right? So this adds great value to these third-party data, adds a lot of good value to our first-party data. So where do we stand today in terms of third-party data? If you look at probably around 2021, 2022, right before the current kind of tech downturn started, I would say we have hit peak third-party data. And there's a couple things that kind of lead you to that conclusion. First of all, the price has just plummeted. When we started the data marketplace back in 2018, it cost about $1.50 enrich a record. Now, if you got enough volume, it's less than 10 cents, right? Now, when it comes to, so of course, price is just one thing that shows you something has become a commodity. Another thing is that the performance has also plateaued across vendors. It really kind of doesn't matter which vendor you use these days. If you use a single vendor, the match rate basically hangs around 50%, and we have seen pretty much all of them. And also now with a multi-vendor approach like the one we have launched, you can get that match rate performance upward of 85%. But this is kind of where the wall is. To get any higher than that, the diminishing return really hits and gets really, really expensive beyond this point. So in essence, we don't think third-party enrichment performance is going to get any better beyond this. And now, because now all these data products are essentially non-differentiated, so it's not surprising a lot of these data vendors essentially are now changing their business to start developing sales software where data now becomes just the ingredients that powers the software instead of the main product itself, right? So that's kind of where we are in terms of third-party data market. All right, so where do we stand today then in terms of go-to-market data? So we have all kind of digitized the basic first-party data bits. Having a system like Marketo doesn't really give you a competitive advantage anymore. It's just table stake. Everybody has them. And we also talk about we all basically have the same third-party data, and they're pretty much all the same. Another table stake. Now, when it comes to third-party data, again, it is a very important piece of what we do, but collectively as an industry, we did a really bad job of actually measuring the value of it. And for something that we all spend a lot of money on, I have never seen a good ROI analysis of the money we spend on third party and what it turns into. And that's something later on you'll see that we're going to try to help change. And as the tech stack gets more and more complex, we're also starting to realize that data is basically the only connecting tissue across a ever-changing tech stack, and it's the only thing that's constant. Last year, Open23, I moderated a panel merger acquisition with Ellie and Jeremy from Broadcom. Jeremy said something that was very insightful, but although it really raised a lot of eyebrows as well. You know where I'm going. You know where I'm going. Surprising. In ops, we talk about as well people, process, and technology. What Jeremy said was, you can declare bankruptcy on all three of those and start over again, especially in an M&A situation. But data is different. You can never basically throw your data out and start over again. You may have to clean it, you might have to change it, you might have to do something to make it work, but most of us can just say, you know what, my data is so screwed up, I'm going to declare bankruptcy, throw it out the window, and just start over. That doesn't work. So in this, kind of as the technology keeps on changing with AI, and data really is the one constant that we're going to have. All right. So that's the state of the union in terms of go-to-market. So then what is this third era of go-to-market data that we believe that AI is ushering into? So before I give it a name, let's first talk about what do we know about the AI we have today, as far as the way we know it, right? So we know AI is right now the ultimate data-driven application, probably more so than anything else we have seen thus far. I don't think anybody would say that we have seen a killer app yet, AI killer app yet in the go-to-market world. Chatbots and Copilot, they're not yet. They're just not yet. They're not that impressive. Now, also, most people I talk to think that within the next 18, 24 months, we'll see a killer app. Of course, we don't know what it is until it shows up. But whatever it is, we know how effective that technology is going to be. How good, what kind of data you can put into it. So it's going to be heavily data driven. All right. So then, how would you be able to gain competitive advantage from whatever AI technology that comes up, right? Now, the first thing that interesting is that unless you work for the Magnificent Seven, which I think everybody knows who those companies are, which my son does, and unless you have 100 data science PhDs on your team, which his team does, and unless you have $100 million AWS budget, which his team has, we all going to be using the same AI technology, okay? And also, we just talked about we're going to be all using the same third-party data. And another thing that's a little less obvious is that the AI is also up-leveling, kind of commoditizing go-to-market execution as well, right? So going forward, you can see that with just a couple of good ops guys, you can actually have fairly robust cadences and engagement automation. So you become less dependent on your sales leadership running a really tight ship, right? So what that does is that, and this is something that we already see AI is doing across different areas, that it's lifting the people who are below average and the teams are below average to average. Now, there's also a flip side to this. It's also on the other side of the bell curve, it's making it more difficult to stand out. Okay, so if you look at the bell curve, that's kind of how good people are at their jobs or teams. That bell curve is getting narrower, but also because more people are being brought up, the average is also moving up. So the AI is actually lifting the bar and commoditizing our execution. So, all right. So in this world, we said that we all use the same technology. We all use the same third-party data. And AI is basically, we're all going to have the same AI-enabled commoditized execution. So where does competitive advantage still come from? So I will argue that it comes from first-party data. This is the one thing you have control. And because everything else feeds off this, this is where sustainable competitive advantage is going to come from. So that's why I'm calling this third era the era of first-party data renaissance. All right. In this third era, what are some of the challenges, data challenges we're going to see? Thanks to AI, one thing AI is really, really good at is generating more data. Okay. Expect data volume to increase by orders of magnitude. AI is good at generating, the new compositions. It's really good at summarizing data you already have 10 different ways. It's good at permuting data, so generating new permutation of data you already got, and also, with ideations. In fact, it's so good at this, we have done already so much of it, given Gen AI has only been around, 4 years? Study already show that the next generation of AI model they're training right now is already at the risk of is poisoning itself because it's training on data that previous version AI model has generated. And that volume is higher than anybody thinks, so that's why the poisoning is happening. So now there's a corollary to this as well. So when data volume increases by orders of magnitude, the signal to noise ratio is also going to degrade by orders of magnitude. Now, in the foreseeable future, human being will still be the one doing the buying. I don't think any of you are going to trust your wallet or your budget to AI anytime soon, right? So that means the signal we all collectively look for are the meaningful human interactions. The non-meaningful human interactions are the noise is basically non-meaningful human interaction as well as machine activities, right? And we all have actually been dealing with this even before Gen AI came on the scene, right? So if you're doing attribution analysis and you're using, for example, incorporating sales signals, so you're looking at sales emails with prospects, right? The email that says, hey, I want these kind of pricing information. Can we schedule a demo? That's not the same as, can we just postpone the meeting by 30 minutes? Right? The first one meaningful, second one isn't. And if you've done any kind of ad buying, you know what click farms are. And if you've been sending emails, all the firewalls now opening emails, clicking on links, most of your email deliverability metrics are at least 25% inflated, right? So even before Gen AI, we haven't solved any of these problems, by the way, right? And so if you think that's bad, AI says, hold my beer, right? So going forward, basically, you're going to have so much machine-generated data that's not meaningful. So for example, if I build an agent that's crawling your website, having a conversation with your chatbot, right? Or my AI SDR is actually exchanging email with AI that's protecting your inbox. I don't think any of us would say that's meaningful engagement, but that's going to start to make up the bulk of the activities that we see on the go-to-market side. So what this is going to be means is that it's going to be harder and harder to separate out the signal from the noise. And I don't think you can also count on AI to do this for you. Most of you probably don't know, before I found Openprise, I was actually in security. So built security product for 15 years. What has been happening on the security side for the last 3 decades is basically an arms race. On one hand, you have the bad actors try to use technology to exploit people, right? And on the then you have the good guys try to use technology to defend themselves. So you got this constant just technology one-upsmanship. With AI, I think we can now expect to see this in our world. In fact, in any space where AI technology is being used. So, because on one hand, you have people try to use AI to get the information they want, right? And a lot of times to be effective at doing this, again, security guys see this all day long, AI is going to try to disguise itself as human to be effective. On the other hand, you're going to try to, like we just talked about, you're going to try to figure out what's human and what's not. And in some cases, if you detect a machine, you may have the incentive to actually try to block access by the machine. Now, another thing that's interesting different is that in the security world, at least you got the good guys and the bad guys, the white spy and the black spy. And in our world, it's all you, just you wearing different hats on different days, right? And so, which going to make it really, really hard. Now, if these challenges are not addressed, what's going to happen, right? So now, if you're aware of the problem but not able to solve it, so you can easily get into essentially data or complexity paralysis, right? Either just too much data to deal with, or the interaction between the data just too much to handle. Now, if you're unaware of the problem, next slide. If you're unaware of the problem, instead of being data driven, you can easily now become noise driven, right? In the last 10, 15 years, we all kind of learned to be very much data driven, right? The old joke is that your CMO knows 50% of her campaign is working, just doesn't know which 50%, right? Now, you might still think of that of your CMO right now, but that's a conversation over drinks today. But imagine this is like having autopilot fly airplane, but all the sensor that the autopilot is using is not giving you accurate reads. The outcome's not going to be good, right? So now, of course, we're not just going to roll over, let AI just run us over. So we're going to try to solve all this problem. Now, if we don't solve this well, what will happen? What will likely happen is that the net gain from AI actually may not be positive, right? So, for example, right, everybody's talking about the efficiency gain we get from AI. Sure. For example, you may be able to hire less SDRs. You may be able to do less sales enablement. But on the other hand, to deal with all the stuff we just talked about, you may be hiring data scientists and data engineers and everything. You probably have to buy new technologies to deal with this problem. And the last time I checked, a data scientist costs a whole lot more money than an SDR. Okay. So yes, if we can't wrap our arms around this thing, the net gain from AI actually may not be positive. So now, of course, future is uncertain by definition. So we don't know exactly how this thing's going to play out, but we have some inklings like we just talked about. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen until it actually happens. But it doesn't mean we can't do anything about it today. We can at least do some things to make sure we get directionally correct, so we're better prepared when the future actually plays out. So a couple of things we know we can do today, right? You're probably gonna have to get really, really good at working with data, way better than what your team's at today, right? And the no, so when signal to noise ratio gets bad, what happens? Basically, the responsibility falls on you to triage that information, right? Tomorrow is election day, so we already seen this in politics already, right? Used to be that if you see something on network news or reading newspaper, yeah, it's pretty much true. Nowadays, depends on which 200 news sources you follow, and if Facebook is your only news source, I'm sorry, and you can't trust anything anymore, right? In order to figure out what's true, you actually have to triage information using multiple sources. And that's going to be our life in the future. So in order to do this, again, we have to get really, really good at triaging information using different sources. Now, the second thing is that, oops, did I go one more back? So to do this, we also then need to make sure we have the ability and the right tools to work with ever-growing data sets. And the data set is going to get really, really big, right? Especially when unstructured data start to become dominating. And you also need the ability to react to these changes quickly. We talk about this technology arms race that AI is going to introduce. So somebody's going to constantly be figuring out another clever way to use AI to get whatever they want. And that's going to actually generate something that you now have to deal with on the other hand, right? Every action actually generates a reaction. I guess you didn't know Newtonian physics actually applies to go-to-market data. But literally, for example, if I got a bot crawling your website, everything that bot does, the bot owner collects data, but it also generates data on your website logs. right? So everything has a reaction. So not just the person who's collecting data is adding to the data, the people that's being impacted is also generating data on the other side. In most cases, actually even more data. So to do all this triaging and be able to gain that competitive advantage, that you really just have to become very good and even probably the best at your first party data than all your competition. And to do all this, you probably have to add a lot of, what is this, call them good data people on your team. Now, if you can afford it, of course, if you can afford data scientists and data engineers on your team, kudos to you. Very few of us going to have that luxury. So what we probably have to figure out is to have people who are kind of very data savvy and give them the right tools, and without getting full blown engineering. Right? And of course, all of this, to really be good at first party data and achieve that excellence, data quality is at the foundation of everything. Uh, Earlier this year, we launched this new tier model. Some of you may have seen this before, because we believe data quality in this world, really, you have to look at it from a bigger lens, right? The traditional definition really just insufficient. So at the bottom, we have what's called technical quality. This is really, can you trust the data? Is it accurate? Is it recent? Right? If you go Google and look at what Wikipedia, what data quality means, that's the definition you're gonna get, and that's the definition your IT guy is gonna give you. But we all know, in order to have really good data quality, there's more to that. On top of that, we have operational quality, right? Now you have trustworthy data. Can you actually take action on that data? Does it have enough add to it? You can do something about it. Then on the very top, you have strategic quality. Are you adding enough business context so you can actually make good decisions from that data? And this holistic view of data quality is why apps has to own data quality. You cannot trust IT to do this, because IT only sees the bottom layer. They don't understand the two layers above. And again, it's football season, so I'll give a football analogy. Any good coach will tell you, doesn't matter how good the playbook is, you still have to block, you still have to tackle, and your offensive line better be able to hold a stand before the ball is snapped. Right? This is all. No good team has ever been bad at the fundamentals. And data quality is the fundamental in this new era where everything is data driven, especially AI. So I guess the short of what I'm trying to say is, in this new AI world, find your wings before you have to fly. Don't be the turkey. All right. Want to give you a quick update on the three things we announced Open 23. First thing we announced last year was this dashboard for Revenue Operating Center. Essentially, this is the dashboard and monitoring capabilities to help you kind of keep an eye, have a single pane of glass on all your operations, all the process you automate on our platform. So we've done good work in two areas. The first one is data quality metrics. So this is the ability to measure basically the quality of your data sets. But most importantly is, how does it measure over time? Which is the tough part, because none of the systems we use come with a time machine. So be able to actually say, this is where we started, this is how it has gotten better over time, require a lot of infrastructure we have to build to take the proper snapshotting, summarization, and also keep that data so you can actually report on it. Whether it's you're looking at, for example, what are some of the completeness of some of your key data fields, or the amount of duplicacy of your databases. If we're protecting your data onboarding, what's the mix of different sources, and also all the way down to what percentage your database has been enriched. This infrastructure has been built. The CS team actually already started to roll out this for our new customers. So for existing customers, for the next couple of quarters, expect your CS team to start discussing with you about how to roll this out. Now, of course, we can't go back and create history that we didn't capture before, but at least for the time we've deployed this, we can take a snapshot and we can track quarterly improvements. Okay. Second thing we did, and I talked about earlier about enrichment metrics. Again, haven't seen any customer who's done a good job measuring the ROI on their data purchase, I like to say that if your CFO comes down the hallway next week and say, hey, my golf buddy just told me about this new enrichment vendor that's 50% cheaper, why don't we switch? You have no data to say either way to back up whatever your decision is. So our goal is to help you measure that. And not only for the data that we provide if you buy data from us, but also any vendor you use directly but use our platform to automate it, we will measure the performance for you. So when it comes to renewal time, we want you to have hard data in front of you to make a decision either way. Okay. Again, this is something that we are pretty close to completing. So you'll see your CS team talking to you about rolling this out. All right. The second thing we announced was what we call biocentric enrichment. So essentially, we had this data marketplace back in 2018. 2 years ago, we got really serious about making this world class. And we did a lot of heavy lifting. We assessed a bunch of vendors. And last year, we announced it last year, and this last year's been really a lot of fine tuning and refining, and getting getting to know these partners really well. So where we stand today is that we essentially have two primary recipes: one for account, one for contracts. You see all the vendors are involved in the waterfall model. So basically, with a single contract, you get all their data in a waterfall model. On top of that, we have technographics, small and micro business data as on top of that, as well as intent data for our partners. Now, with this multi-vendor approach, what we have done is that we broke through the performance ceiling that we talk about. Okay, don't mean to pick on ZoomInfo, but I'm picking on ZoomInfo. So, but again, really doesn't matter which vendor you use. Your match rate these days is going to be around 50%. Right? We've seen this across a large number of bake-offs and POCs and what people's actual records are. And with multi-vendor, you can see the numbers there. We can get upwards of 80, 90%. In fact, we have a lot of customers who are ZoomInfo customers who give us their ZoomInfo leftovers. These are the records that ZoomInfo cannot match. And we've been able to do 25 to 40% on that data. So now match rate, of course, is just one way to measure how good a data set is. So we also now have market-leading stuff in international coverage, mobile phone coverage, small business coverage, also identity resolution, especially with personal emails. We also guarantee the minimum fields, as well as, if it applies to you, open data, how to incorporate open data as part of your comprehensive enrichment strategy. So in Q1, we launched two new solutions, which we will talk about more in detail in the solution showcase. First one is what we call automated acquisition. So historically, we help you enrich the data you have, but if you want to buy net new records, we can help you. This solution does that for you in a continuous basis. Second thing is what we call targeted enrichment. Now, most of you don't enrich your entire database because you know they're part of your database, just crap. Or it's not strategic, whatever case may be. So now what this solution does is allow you to point to any database, we'll scan it, we'll show you which record we can improve on, how we can improve it, and whose data are we going to be using. And again, you'll see that in the solution showcase. Now, if you do intend to get rid of your existing vendor and you're buying the prospecting seats for your sellers, we do offer options that we have on a partnership with Dun & Bradstreet, Cognizant, and Remtip. So if you do want to replace the seller seats, we can resell their seats as well. All right, the third thing we announced was we call AI-powered data ops. So about a month ago, we launched our AI capabilities. The first thing in this is that we have now integration to all OpenAI compatible services. This, of course, includes OpenAI, Anthropic. Basically, any big name AI model uses what's called OpenAI compatible APIs. They all want to lower the switching barrier, so which makes it convenient for us. So basically, now, if your IT team has already given you permission to use these models, public models, or if your IT team's actually been building something or they already built something, chances are they're building on these models or one of the leading open source models, and all of them basically use OpenAI APIs. So that means basically, as of a month ago, Openprise can connect to all these services, so you'll be able to use them. Now, the second thing was that this we heard loud and clear last year at a CAB, was that you said your management was asking you to look into AI to see how you can leverage it to make everything more efficient. On the other hand, your InfoSec guys, data's not going out, right? So a lot of you basically telling us that you've been doing use cases like, for example, writing SDR emails. So use cases that does not involve any sensitive company data. So you kind of got your hands tied behind your back, and you told us that we need to embed AI models in our platform, and we did that. So in the system right now, you can see a service called Gen AI. This is for all you AI nerds. That's the model we're using. Uh, and Ray will get into details in the CAP session about why we picked that model and why it makes sense. So what you have today essentially is AI ready to use. So you can just log in and use it. You don't have to worry about what model you should be picking, where you're going to be hosted, what kind of machine you're going to put it on. Also, because it's just another service and we have a task called Ask AI Task, you can essentially add that to any bot, any job you have built on our platform. So it's there to essentially leverage AI to make all your existing processes better, right? So I tell people that very few of us are just ripping stuff out and completely replace it with AI. So for example, if you're doing lead routing with us, I doubt that you're just going to say, hey, let's throw out the window. We're going to put an AI lead routing engine in there, whatever the black box says, where the lead goes. And that's not happening, right? What you want to do is actually, how can I inject AI to make my existing business rules better? And the third thing is probably the most important is now you have the permission slip to actually build, because your data, if you use this service, your data never leaves our platform. It doesn't go outside. So you meet your compliance requirements. And also, we do not use your data for anything. We do not use your data for training our own AI, nothing. So you have essentially the permission slip to go to your InfoSec that says, hey, I can now start building with AI with actual company data. This service right now is in beta and is free to use during beta. If you didn't participate in the hackathon, if you are curious about what this thing is, talk to your CS team. They'll help you get this turned on for you. And again, it's free to use during the beta period. And in the solution showcase, we'll go into a lot of detail about what these things do. All right. So after this, we'll take a short 15-minute break, and we'll have the CS team come up and do the 3 solution showcase. But right before we do that, there's one more thing. So about a month ago, you probably seen the UI has been refreshed. So it looks a little more crisp, a little more modern, a little more consistent. And as of today, there's one more feature we're going to turn on for you. About 3 years ago, during one of the cabs, what topic got a lot of very passionate demand? I still don't understand why. You guys really, really want a dark mode. So as of today, you have dark mode. All right, with that, thank you. And let's take a short break, and we'll bring the solution showcase up.